I'd like to focus us primarily on the second reading, an excerpt from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. It's from chapter 10, verses 31 through chapter 11, verse 1. But also one reference to the opening prayer, which I just prayed for us. May we be so fashioned by grace to become a dwelling pleasing to you. I really want to focus on that become. This, for most of us, for all of us really, I guess, a lifelong process of growth and conversion and becoming more like Jesus and getting free from the things, the chains, the shackles, the habits, the compulsions, and perhaps even outright even diagnosed addictions, whatever it might be. So I want to encourage us all to give ourselves over to the spirit and the spirituality and the theology of this opening prayer, asking God's grace to fashion us over time so that we become all the more pleasing to God. That Jesus, who does dwell in us already, through all of us who have been baptized, Jesus dwells in us. But wouldn't it be nice if we could know that Jesus is more and more pleased to dwell in us? We might picture ourselves as one of those houses or apartments or whatever, and all the countless shows about remodeling and renovation that are out there in all the different cable channels and streaming channels and everything else. The kind in particular, like, I won't make any commercials by saying names of them or titles, but, kind where, for instance, the people get stuck with a bad, either just incompetent or outright corrupt and fraudulent general contractor or subcontractor or a worker. And this one fellow swoops in and makes everything right. He confronts the fraudulent contractor and he fixes the mistakes and he makes the house beautiful by the end. Or kinds where the people themselves have taken on their own renovation or remodeling projects and it just totally ruins the whole house and the thing is worse than when they started. And this woman swoops in and tells them, oh, you did this wrong and this wasn't according to code and this was dangerous and this, that, the other. And she makes everything right by the end of the episode. We might consider ourselves like that. And among other things, look at every Mass as a remodel and renovation show. And whether it's things done to us by other people that have harmed us and hurt us and then contributed to our own struggles with being Christ-like, or whether it's things we're responsible for ourselves of what we've done, that every time we come to Mass, Father, Son, and Spirit, right? Holy Trinity general contractors. They come in, they swoop in, and they improve a room here or a room there. Pun intended, we got lots of rooms for improvement in our lives, and God comes in and comes to the rescue. That can be true for every Mass. That can be true every day of our lives, but it's particularly true in what's going to be starting on Wednesday, right? Every year when we come around to the season and the observation and the celebration of Lent. And so this is where I want to have us think about the nice providential timing of this second reading, being that it happens to be the last Sunday in ordinary time for a while, right before Lent starts, where St. Paul said to those early Christians, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do everything for the glory of God. Seek not your own benefit, but that of the many. To paraphrase what he wrote later. As we often think of Lent, the customary tradition of Lent, right, is giving things up and no longer eating or drinking certain things. Perhaps, once again, giving up coffee or cream in your coffee or giving up chocolate or not eating seconds at dinner or not eating dessert. Whatever it is, we always have this focus on what we're going to give up for Lent. So to reverse, paraphrase St. Paul, I want to encourage you to think about Lent. Whatever you choose not to eat or not to drink, do that for the glory of God. I certainly am not discouraging the custom of self-denial and self-discipline and giving things up for Lent. But I want to encourage us not just to do it because that's what Catholics do and other Christians too. Don't just do it because you have a habit to do that. And this Lent, give up the same things you gave up last Lent and Lent before that and all your life. And then on Easter Monday, boom, right back to it. But instead, ask the Lord, and however you may be experiencing God answering your prayers like this, how can me giving up X, Y, or Z give glory to you, Lord? And how can it be for the benefit of others? I've used this example before, and maybe I have even here last year. If you're aware that you have a tendency toward being a little bit too irritated and angry too quickly, or being hurtfully mean-spirited and sarcastic with people, and you say, I've got to overcome this. For Lent, I'm going to work on being less angry. I'm going to work on having fewer outbursts. I'm going to work on not being so sarcastic with people. If you do that and you succeed at Lent, it doesn't mean then on Easter Monday you go back to being a jerk, right? I mean, it's like, what's the point? That's just one example. So I want to encourage everybody to take seriously the message on the front of the bulletin to prayerfully consider what to do for Lent. Whatever you don't eat or drink, whatever you do, extra prayer, extra scripture reading, it may very well be the same thing you do every Lent, but ask God to enhance or enrich your reasons for doing it to become more pleasing as a dwelling place for Christ in our hearts and in our lives. That His grace will continue to fashion us, remodel us, renovate us, clear up our rooms for improvement, for the glory of God and for the benefit of others.